Welcome to the Instant Impact Podcast. I'm your host, Elyse, and I've got such an important message, conversation, and such an incredible guest for you today. And today we're talking about something that I think we've talked about in different ways on the podcast, but we've never tackled really head on, which is how to overcome insecurities. And gosh, this is a topic that is near and dear to my heart. And, I've shared with you about different insecurities that I've had over the years and how they've impacted me if you've been listening for a while. So, well, by the way, welcome back if you are a longtime listener. And if you are new here, I'm so glad to have you here. But, I think when I think about what insecurities do to us, they hold us back from really showing up the way that we actually can in the world. And they hold us back from going after that thing that we want, whether it's some type of a media opportunity or a client or a relationship. We can get so caught up in our heads and create these limitations for ourselves that don't actually exist, but we end up making them exist because we believe that either we don't deserve that thing or we're not good enough for that thing. And especially, the time at which we're recording, it's July of 2020. So there may be something that's more chronic that you've struggled with as an insecurity. Maybe it's a body image thing or something like that. Or maybe there's more of a situational thing for you right now. Maybe you entered this year feeling like you were really well set up for your goals, and then you lost you lost all your clients, or you lost a job, and there's this newfound element of financial insecurity that you weren't dealing with before. Well, if you don't figure out how to deal with it, it can really, really hold you back from not only putting yourself out there in your biggest and best way, but really just living your life to the fullest and enjoying your life to the fullest. And I mentioned at the beginning of this episode that personally, I have struggled with a lot of insecurities. And gosh, I'm probably not thinking of even most of them right now, but off the top of my head, dealing with body image issues through my teens and 20s, and or whether it's financial fear that money would stop coming in and just having these irrational fears about money and financial security. I've dealt with fears of what are people going to say about me if I put myself out there, which I think a lot of us today can struggle with, especially if you're building your business and increasing your visibility. There can be that fear of what are people going to say, and are they going to judge me? And I'll tell you, every single time, it just ended up being in my head. But some of these fears and some of these insecurities, I let consume years of my life. And looking back, I never regret anything, because I think everything that happens in our lives it's happening for a reason, and it's a lesson that we're meant to learn. So I wouldn't change it. But with the perspective I have now, I did not need to spend years agonizing over my body image or agonizing over what was going to happen if money just suddenly stopped coming in. And I let some of these fears and insecurities consume me. And I think for each of us, that's part of the journey. That's part of why we're here, is learning how to deal with and navigate those insecurities. But we don't have to let them consume us the way they do. And so my guest today, Jeremy Todd, is just so passionate about helping you overcome insecurities. And he's actually writing a book right now about how he has done this in his own life. And he shares on the podcast about physical insecurities that he's had and how they have impacted his life. But the thing that I really appreciate is he's going to teach us how to turn our insecurities into our strengths. And if you don't know Jeremy, you're going to love this man. He's the host of an incredibly popular podcast called The Positive Side Podcast. It has a community of more than 10,000 people on Facebook who are part of this Positive Side movement and community. And he's someone who I worked with on the same team for several years. We worked together in coaching and became just one of my dear friends, and someone who I have so much respect for, because no matter what was going on, and we had a challenging job to tackle together and faced a lot of rejection, but no matter what was going on, he would always stay positive about it. And it doesn't mean that he hasn't dealt with his challenges. It doesn't mean he doesn't have dark days, and he talks about that on the show today too. But Jeremy has really conditioned his mind to be so resilient and to work for him, not against him. And so I wanted to have him on to talk about how we can recondition our minds. And he's going to share some of the very concrete practices he does every day to help turn his insecurities into strength. So, so many good takeaways from this conversation. And before we get into the episode, I do want to just remind you and let you know that we are going to be having a bit of a pivot with the podcast. And this is actually the last episode before I do a brand relaunch, which will come out this fall. So really excited for that. And if you want more details, you can go to episode 68 where I share more. It's a shorter episode, but I share more about the why and kind of a preview of what's going on. But the Instant Impact podcast is going to go on a bit of a hiatus for the next few months. One, as I record this, I will be having a baby in probably 1 to 2 weeks. And then two, there has been a brand and a mission and a message that's been on my heart for years, and it is time to bring it out into the world. So when we come back in the fall, you are going to see fresh content. You're going to see a fresh perspective. You're going to see a whole lot of just things that I'm really excited for. And so I would say if you have not listened to all of the episodes yet, you got over 70 episodes to go through, and that should keep you busy over the next couple of months. But please just stay tuned, because I will be announcing and coming back with the new podcast in the next several months. And I'm so just grateful for each of you who has been a listener up until now. And I hope that you'll stay with me on the journey, but just know how much I appreciate you, and be excited for what's coming, because it's going to be big and it's going to be really fresh. And I think it's at least it's what I am being called to bring forth into the world right now. So stay tuned for that announcement, and gosh, get ready to just really, really soak up what Jeremy has to say. Now, I know for every single person listening, there is something he's going to share that you can implement in your life, that you can use right now to help up-level your mindset, to help feel more confident and comfortable with who you are, and to help make the rest of this year even better. So lots of love to you. And with that, let's go ahead and welcome our guest to the show today, Jeremy Todd. All right, Jeremy, I have to tell you, it's such a cool full circle moment to have you on the show today. And you are just one of my favorite people in the world. And I have so much respect for who you are, and for what you've done in your life, and just your mindset and attitude about stuff, which we'll get into today. But man, I'm thrilled to have you on the show today. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm honored to be on your show. And like we talked about this in the past, I mean, you're one of my best friends. I love you. I respect you. And I'm excited for the baby soon. And little baby Jeremy's coming. I can't wait. So, I'm really honored and blessed to be here. So I'm excited. I've been looking forward to this for, I don't know how long ago we scheduled it, months ago. I've been looking forward to it since day one we connected. So I can't wait.
Me too. Well, so, I talked about you in the intro and how we know each other, and gave our listeners a little bit of context, but I think starting off with some more context on your own personal backstory. And I know you've done so many things to help people with their mindset and growing their businesses. And so there's so many different ways we could go with this conversation, Sure. But I want to honor some of the work that you're doing right now around overcoming insecurities, because I think that's something that all of us, myself included, can relate to. And I think it's something that is really important for us to also figure out how to do as we grow our visibility and increase our influence in the world. So kind of take us back through your own backstory and how you got so passionate about doing this work.
And thank you again. But, I originally started, and like anybody, you have your built-in insecurities, but I always felt like my insecurities were, I don't want to downplay any other insecurities, but I'm 5'2", 130 pounds, soaking wet. So I've always been the shortest guy around. I've been, and that's been like that my whole life. So that insecurity has really, it's taken me from when I was really, really young till today. I still work on, and I fight that to fight those feelings of insecurity. But, over time, what I've really understood is embracing my quote unquote downfall of being short. it's really allowed me to understand that is my strength. My strength is my insecurity. And when they become one and the same, it's almost like a breakthrough time, because now, hey, people remember me. They never forget my name. They never forget what I look like. So over time, I used to think, oh man, woe is me, and I don't have a chance, and I can't do this, or I can't do that. And I really started developing that mindset about, hey, that's what makes me strong, is my height, is my ability to be remembered by people. People see me once and they just don't forget me. So that I've really, really worked hard on. And it's tough. Hey, I got bad. We all go through bad days. I go through bad days a lot. But at the end of the day, I wake up the next morning and fired up, understanding that I'm blessed. Life could be so much worse. So yeah, I really have that attitude of gratitude, and I feel blessed to be where I'm at right now. So I don't know if that answers the question or not, but
Yeah.
I feel, yeah.
Yeah, it does. And I love what you said about, I realize that my strength is my insecurity. And I think this is just my own personal perspective, is that each of us is given challenges, setbacks, difficulties. Some of them we're born with, like it's a physical thing. Some of them are just things that happen to us throughout our life. But the way that I've learned to view it is that those things are gifts that don't feel like gifts in the moment, but it is a gift to help us, one, transform and evolve, and then two, help other people with that same thing. So for somebody who's listening, who is maybe struggling with, whether it's a physical insecurity or something else, what were some of the actual things you did to start to transform your mindset to retrain your brain that, no, this actually is my strength?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I love what you said too, because we all have different insecurities. Mine's, my height, or, I've got a little bone issue as well. But, some people think they're overweight or too tall even. We all have them. We all fight through them. But what really, for me, it starts out every single morning. I'm a big routine guy. And what I always like to do is really just go over those, I've got little quote, motivational quotes around my house. I've got them on my mirror. I've got them on my refrigerator. I've got my vision board. And really, it starts first thing in the morning with the correct mindset. If you don't have that set up initially, it's hard to get going. It's easier to start out, hey, woe was me right away, if you don't have those things in your life. So right away, I go into my bathroom mirror, and there's silly stuff. I know the one off the top of my head I always think about it is, you've gotten yourself in this mess. How are you going to get yourself out? So I always see that in myself, and I'm like, you know what? No matter what happened yesterday, I'm going to get myself out of this, and I see that one. There's one that says every day is alcohol free. It's
Mm.
things like that that just remind me first thing in the morning, and it allows me to plan my whole day out and start on the right foot. But the other side of that is it's not just the way you start your day, it's the way you end your day. And hey, no matter what goes on throughout my day, good, bad, or indifferent, I always try and end it the same way as well. And I do that, and I just think about all the things I'm grateful for. I lay in bed every single night, and I took this from a book a while ago, and I don't remember who it was. But when I lay in bed and I try and fall asleep sometimes, for pretty much every day, I go through the alphabet with different letters of things that I'm grateful for. So I always use, like, letter A is Anthony, is my son. I always think of him. I'm grateful for him. B could be anything. I mean, you put the name for all the different letters, but I go through that alphabet, and I always feel good when I go to bed. I wake up in a good mood. I feel better about my day. And so those two big things, the way you start your day and the way I end my day, are extremely important. The other thing I do too is, which really helps me out, is I write a lot of notes. When I'm having a tough day, I always just write a little note to myself. Hey, finish work on this tomorrow. Hey, you're going to be okay. Get through this. And I just put it in my pocket. It's nothing that, it's just, it almost allows your mind to puke that positive information out. And that helps me tremendously too. So if I write myself a note first thing in the morning at 10 o'clock, say, hey, today's gonna be a great day, and I put that in my pocket, and then when I get home at night, I pull that out. Hey, today's a great day. So it's constant. It never ends. And Zig Ziglar says it the best. It's motivation, I think, is like bathing. If you don't do it every day, you start to stink. And I really take that I take that to the heart, because it's extremely important to do that every day. Watch motivational videos, listen to podcasts. It's just a full-time job, because there's so many things coming at you, especially the crazy world we're living in now with COVID and all the riots and things like that. On top of that, with financial stresses, and it's a crazy time. And if you take a day off from that, or 2 days off from trying to stay motivated, boy, you could spiral out of control pretty quick. So That's what I do every day. I mean, every single day, it's the same thing. It's, hey, today's gonna be a great day. Let's get better. And then the way I end it is the same way. So that helps me tremendously, and I hope that helps someone else too.
Well, there are a couple things you said there that I've never heard before, which I love. One is just the letters of the alphabet, which I think is cool because it, when I mean, you're kind of challenging me in a good way, because usually I'll try to think of one thing that I'm grateful
Yeah,
for from the day. It's like, especially if it's been a long day and I'm tired and kind of falling into bed, I'll try to think of one thing, but that stretches you, right? That's 26
yeah,
different things to think about, which I love. And then you're writing the notes to yourself too. And, I used to be so focused on the tactical, more the strategy side when I was,
yeah,
kind of first starting my, my business and personal development stuff. It was like, no, just give me the strategies. And I
yeah,
used to dismiss the mindset stuff. But what you realize is that that's like 95% of it.
yeah,
And you brought up a really good point too about how important it is to do it every single day. And
yeah,
even today, it's like I try to meditate first thing in the morning every day, and I didn't do it this morning. And part of me was like, I can just skip it today. But I know if I don't do it at some point today, I may not feel it today, but there's going to be a
yeah,
repercussion. So people say, well, when do I get to stop doing this? Never.
yeah,
It's worth the time.
exactly.
It's some of the best time you can spend, you know?
Absolutely. Well, you mentioned meditation too, and meditation is one of those things too that's really completely changed my life because I'm always jacked up and fired up constantly. And that downtime, and one of the things I love talking about is when you're, when you are do have that downtime and you are within your own head. I think, and again, I'm trying not to jump around too much, but
Do it. It's
we
all
look for
good.
answers so often for outside of ourselves. We watch the news, we listen to our friends, we watch social media for all these answers instead of understanding that all the answers that we have and all the answers that we need are all within ourselves. But we don't give ourselves time to just to sit there and meditate and think our way through
Mm.
these problems. 9 times out of 10, like I said, the answers are already within you, but you're so bombarded with so many things going on and answers and opinions, and it's just crazy. It's crazy to work to try and cipher your way through all this mess. But when you're by yourself meditating, it just allows you to get you that little extra time to slow everything down, slow the heart rate down, slow the breathing down. And boy, I tell you what, you could be the most stressed out person in the world. You meditate for 15 minutes and you feel like $1,000,000.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's completely changed my life because again, I'm fired up all the time. And meditation allows me to slow down and just really reflect and allow the things that I need in my life to come to me. Because
Mm.
without that, I don't think they ever will. Or they try to, but I'm so blocked to, and I'm not open to accepting the answers that are already there. And meditation allows me to be with myself at peace and just really allow all the answers to come to me. So I'm glad you mentioned meditation. I love
Yeah.
it.
Well, and I hope it's cool to bring this up. I know with the pre-chat, you and I were talking about how we can have discomfort of being just alone with ourselves and alone with our thoughts. And I think I want to talk with you a little bit about just some of like the state of the world at the time at which we're recording this, because I think for so many
Yeah,
of us, there's big shifts going on. And I went through a period of a couple of years in my life where I hated being by myself, because there were just
yeah,
some situations and stuff going on in my life that I knew weren't actually congruent with who I was, and I didn't want to deal with them.
sure.
And so my worst nightmare was being alone by myself. And that's actually how I discovered podcasts, because
Oh yeah,
I wouldn't want to, I'd be doing these long drives to go on sales calls, and I had to have something to listen to so that I wasn't forced to sit with the actual thoughts that were trying to rise up. And
sure.
I think right now for a lot of us, there may be more alone time right now, and there may be more
Yeah.
quiet time, and there's stuff that we haven't dealt with that's maybe bubbling up that's uncomfortable. How do we, if someone's hearing this and they're like, I know I really do want to meditate more, I want to get in deeper touch with myself right now, but I feel so uncomfortable with what comes up when I do that. I know this is probably like a big question, but any
Yeah.
words of wisdom or advice for someone who's kind of dealing with that
Absolutely,
discomfort?
yeah. I mean, the first thing comes to my mind is it's okay if those things come up, because I think that was one of the things that I wasn't okay with, like understanding that being alone is the only way I'm going to face these things, and I cannot continually to run away from my own thoughts. It's more stressful to run away from them than just really to face them. And this we talked about this fear of being alone that I had for forever, And as I work my way through this process, I feel like I'm in the middle of working my way through the process. But I've thought about so many things about, how am I going to react when these bad thoughts or these bad things come up? And the only reaction is just to let it happen the way it's supposed to happen. It's okay. The things that have happened in my past and the struggles that are there, they're okay. I use an analogy a lot on my show from time to time, is that when I go through these things, I feel like I'm walking into a room that's completely pitch black. And as I'm alone with myself, I turn a little dimmer switch on. As things get brighter and brighter in there, I notice things that that are super cool. But I also notice the things that may have been right next to me that are super scary, and they've been right next to me this entire time. And for whatever reason, I've tried to run away with it. I've had that fear of being alone, and you know, thinking about it now, it's still kind of, it's a little trippy to me, and it's all new, this new process I'm going through. But I think the biggest thing is just saying that it's okay. It's okay to be scared. It's okay to be concerned about it. All those things are okay, but it's not okay not to face them. Because I think you drag, it's just like pulling that luggage, you're constantly pulling it. And the bad things that I don't want to face, in reality, have made me the person that I am today. I don't look at them as a negative anymore, because I'd be ashamed of something I did in the past. But that being ashamed has made me a better person. I don't want to do those things again, and I have to face those, and I have to understand that they're not going away. They are who I am. They've brought me this far in life, and I'm fortunate. Yeah. But I would just tell anybody that's thinking about it, just don't run away. It's okay. It's safe. Yeah. You're safe within your own head. I did this thing yesterday for my birthday, and you taught me years ago, and I love this, was when and I completely stole this from you, so I am owning up to it. Now, you probably already know, but I do what you do. Well, great. Well, it's those, you told me years ago that you put, for people's birthdays, you just tell them, hey, happy birthday, and what I really respect about you. So I've done that for years now, and the responses I get back from that are amazing. But yesterday, on my birthday, I decided that it was time for me to do that for myself. So I just said, something along the lines, hey, Jeremy, I'm really, what I really respect about you is that, you always try and make everybody happy. You try and bring joy to no matter the situation. But it's awkward when I had that conversation with them, and I put it on the Facebook page too. It's definitely awkward, and it makes you feel uncomfortable. But again, it's okay. And after I said it, I was almost tearing up while I'm talking about it, because we don't take time to really appreciate who we truly are. Our past are what's made us. The darkness we need to bring it into the light. And, the more and more we're comfortable with it and just trying to be happy with ourselves, boy, life just gets way, way easier. I told you earlier, I feel better at 42 than I do at 22. And I don't think it's all physically. I think mentally I'm in way better shape now than what I've ever been in my entire life. So it goes hand in hand about, hey, fear of being alone. It's okay. Everything I've done is okay. And if someone else is out there fearing of being alone and fearing to face it, it's going to be okay. I think just understanding that it's okay and it's made you. I think that's super important to realize. And I think that'll help a lot of people, because we get ashamed. I mean, I get ashamed of it, but it's okay. So, I know I went on a tangent again, but important.
It's so important. Yeah, it's so important. And, I think when that stuff bubbles up and the discomfort bubbles up, like what you said is kind of just the non-resistance to it, like letting it be. Because I know for me, when I was going through that, and I still have like smaller periods of it, but it was a big chunk of like a year or two where I was really struggling with it. The more I fought it, the bigger it got. And it's uncomfortable to sit with it. It's, like you will probably cry, you will feel all the things you haven't wanted to feel, but that's where the transformation comes. And I think another important thing that you talked about was just learning to embrace all of yourself, even the parts of yourself or things that you've done that you may feel guilt or shame about. And I heard someone, I forget who it was, but I heard someone a while back call the world like superhero training school, which I thought was such a cool way to think about it, where we come here and we learn all these lessons and we goof up and we make mistakes, and we're not here to be perfect. But when you can think about, like, it's training school, and I'm becoming like the superhero version of myself through these challenges. It's just to me,
Love
it,
it.
it lightens it. I try not to take it all too seriously
Yeah.
anymore. But, one of the things I wanted to ask you about too, because I think kind of coming back to insecurities, I think insecurity can be like a chronic type of thing, right? Where maybe it's something that you're born with or character. It's just something that you're not comfortable with about yourself, but then it can also be more situational. Like at the time that we're recording, we're, a little bit past midway through 2020. We've got economic crisis, we've got pandemic, we've got a lot of social movements happening. And I think about for somebody who maybe went into this year feeling pretty good about
Sure.
where they are, and then maybe they lost their job or a loved one died, and there's more of this situational insecurity. I'll just go back to the job loss because it's like financial insecurity, right? You were fine, and now at least you thought you were fine, and now you're not. You are, and I know you've been through a lot of challenges, so it's not like that you've just had an easy life, but you are so positive, and your approach to life is so positive through
Yeah.
everything. Is there anything else that you would recommend to someone for staying positive in the midst of so much uncertainty and maybe insecurity that's coming up for them right now that's more situational?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the biggest things, and this is really one of my mantras, is I talk about vulnerability. You look at a time where things are so crazy, but vulnerability is my strength. If I'm struggling with something, I want to talk to somebody about it. I don't want to just hold that inside. If I'm struggling financially, I'm going to talk to somebody about it. And what that does, and what I've learned through vulnerability being my strength, is really the most important thing. Is it allows me to get things off my chest. It allows me to actually talk about things that are uncomfortable for me. But 99 times out of 100, the other person has their own vulnerabilities. And then by you opening up, it allows them to open up. And that is one of the most powerful things that I would recommend anybody to, is just really just talk about what you're struggling with. And that goes with depression. That goes with anybody who's having, um, alcoholism, smoking cigarettes, can't go to, whatever the case is. Talking to somebody allows you to work your way through it, but it also helps other people out so much. It's the butterfly effect in real life. And when you see it in front of you, it's powerful, because you can see their gears turning, and then they think to themselves, you know what, if he can do this, maybe I can overcome this obstacle in my way.
Mm.
What the world needs now more than ever is more vulnerable, authentic people. You can go on this any social media and see the most beautiful people in the entire world making all kinds of money. Your neighbors buying new vehicles. It's just, to me, it's all fake, and just adds into the insecurity that we carry around. By being vulnerable and understanding that we are enough, and being the best version of ourselves, but telling other people our struggles. I'm telling you, it's the most powerful thing you could absolutely do ever. And you and I have had multiple conversations, and I always just puke out to you too. So you've heard all kinds of my stuff, but I feel better after I get into talking. And I know you've shared some things with me, but that's what makes relationships better. That's what makes you feel better, makes me feel better. And then, that continues on and on. So if you say something to me and I feel better, I go tell somebody else and they feel better. But in this time with the craziness and we don't have to be, we don't have to be Superman. Like, we don't have to be Superwoman. We can just be ourselves and be vulnerable and talk about it. And it just goes so far to understanding. And maybe this is almost the theme of this podcast so far. It's okay to be yourself. It's okay. Life is not easy. It's tough, and we all struggle, but putting a facade that I'm invincible and I'm the best, and then inside you're falling apart. Who's that really helping? That's not helping anybody. Sure is not helping yourself.
Yeah.
So, I would recommend anybody to find that friend, find that person that the relative, and just be that person that you can be open with, be vulnerable with. And I promise you, they'll be vulnerable with you. And like you said, it'll probably shed a tear, laugh, but damn, you're going to feel so much better when you're done. So again, in the crazy time, be yourself, be authentic, be vulnerable. And I promise you, life will be so much easier and a hell of a lot more enjoyable.
Yeah. And it does, you're right. It takes a lot of strength to do that. And that's another thing that I used to struggle with a lot, was feeling like the only way people would like me is if I seemed like I had it all together or had it all figured out. And I would struggle so much with asking for help or telling somebody that I was struggling with something. And I mean, it's still something to this day that I think it's probably not one of my greatest strengths.
Sure. Yeah.
It's something I'm working on. And 2020 has taught me a lot about that. And I think to your point, one of the things we're all being called to do is just kind of tap into like, who are we really and why are we here? Kind of stripping
Yeah.
away the false pretenses. What would you say? Because obviously, as we record, we're kind of in the middle. I think we're at the very beginning of a lot of the lessons we're going to get. But
Sure.
what are some of the things this year has taught you so far?
Well, that's a great question. I would say, boy, I the biggest thing for me is I need to be prepared for really anything.
Mm,
Um, you know, I listen to Joe Rogan's podcast all the time. We're on a rock spinning around in
yeah,
oblivion,
I
and
love that.
we are just so small and insignificant, but we get caught up in our day to day life. So what it's really taught me is two things really is just be more prepared, have my stuff together, because as you're just cruising through life, things get away from you. And the other thing for me, the bigger is really being present with everybody that I'm in contact with. The more present and the more, just again, it's so crazy right now. But what this has really taught me is that if I'm talking to someone on the phone, if I'm meeting someone face to face, I am 100% present. I want to learn about them. I want to be part of this. I want to be part of the bigger picture for their lives. And I know it sounds, was it grandiose? Is that a word? I don't know if that's a word or not, but
That's a
whatever.
word. Yeah, it's a word.
Okay, all right, sweet. So, but I mean it. I mean, being more present, being and enjoying life. There's people dying all across the world from this crazy disease, and um, man, when's my time? I don't know. We never know. So, my biggest fear in the world is going on my deathbed, saying to myself, "I wish I would have. I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have done that." So, literally, I try and do everything I possibly can, and be present, and just really take advantage of the moment,
Yeah.
because if this has taught anybody anything, boy, I mean, you can get locked down one day, you're free to go the next day. I mean, it's just complete chaos. So if that's
Yeah.
the world we live in, I'm gonna try different things. I started writing a book. I told you that,
Yeah.
and that's a really helping me through a lot of different processes and working my way through all the different things that have been in my head and organizing that. But it's just really taking advantage of every single second I got now and being
Mm.
100% present with every conversation I have.
Yeah, yeah. Oh gosh. And I think that has also been one of my biggest lessons, is just because you can't plan for the future the way you used to. So it's like, okay, what's today about? What's today
Yeah,
about? And how can I appreciate today? And I think about now, this was, I think, before all the all the pandemic stuff hit, but like, I know you went to Ireland by yourself recently, and you're
yeah,
writing a book and just like soaking up these experiences and things that you've probably been thinking about doing forever, but had maybe been
yeah,
putting off, or it's like, it's never the right time. Right. So
oh,
you
yeah.
make excuses, but just embracing what we got right now.
Absolutely. I mean, every day is exciting for me. I look forward to every single day. I look forward to, it's kind of crazy too. Like you would think that things would slow down, but I think they're speeding up for the things that I want to do. It's,
Mm,
before you're just so busy on doing stuff that you don't want to do. And now I'm doing things that I want to do, and I'm super busy. I love it. It's great.
it's a
But
good
it's that
thing.
passion. It's that fire. Hey, like tonight when I leave here, I'm going to go home and, try and write in my book. I've already got the things in my head that are ready to type out. So it's just really giving me more time to do the things I want to do. And
Mm,
I love it. I mean, it's the
yeah.
best time. But people are struggling out there. I think it's one of the greatest things, besides the death and the people getting sick and all that stuff. It's one of the greatest times right now, because you can actually spend more time at home and do these things that you want to do, and shut the TV off. You've already watched everything on Netflix forever. You can put that thing away, and now you can do actually what you want to do with your life. So it's exciting. It's a great time to be alive, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, I 100% agree. Tell everyone about, I know they're going to want to get more of your content and your ideas and just like spend more time with you. So I'd love if you could share about your podcast, because you've created such an amazing following, and just such an inspirational podcast. And tell us if you want to share a little bit more about the book, and just any other way that people can connect with you and get more involved with what you're doing.
I appreciate it. Yeah, you can. The podcast is called The Positive Side Podcast. I started it just about 3.5 years ago, and I'm fortunate and all over the world, and it's going really, really well. Episodes are very, very short, and really, sometimes it's just me venting, and it's really talking about real life vulnerability stuff, to make sure that other people understand that, hey, this guy's telling his whole life story on, maybe my life story is okay as well. And I think that's the biggest thing about the podcast, is that it's authentic, it's real. It's they're not long episodes, but it's really meant to inspire other people to get unstuck in life, to do the things they want to do. And Well, there's some episodes that are out there because a lot of times I'll just hit record and I just start talking for 10, 15 minutes. It's great. I'm just ranting on different things in my head. So I love doing that. And, if anybody wants to, check out the positivesidepodcast.com. You can also check me out on Facebook. You can friend me on Facebook. I don't care. Jeremy Todd, and Positive Side podcast Facebook page is growing well. We got just over 10,000 people on the page. So that's going well for us.
Right.
So I'm excited about that, and really I'm excited about the book. The book will be out in the next 3 or 4 months. I have no idea what it's going to be called. I'm thinking vulnerability is my strength. That's kind of what I'm leaning towards, but it's kind of cool going through the process because I don't really know. But it's allowing me to really get a lot of things on paper, that a lot of the struggles that I've had, I've struggled with depression for a long, long time, and I wasn't really even aware that I was struggling with it. And as you go through and as I write all these things down, all these memories are coming up, and it's really just making me a better person. And it's allowing me to work my way through some of the things that I've had. And through that process, I hope to share a lot of, stories that'll maybe inspire somebody else to, just understand that, we're so blessed, and life is so beautiful and so important. And I'm really excited about the book. It'll be out in like I said, 3 or 4 months it'll be out, and I'm going to be all over you, Elyse, to get that book out for me for sure.
Do
I'll
it.
send you an autographed version. I'll do all that stuff for you. But it's going to be great. And I'm really just, I do it selfishly for myself to help myself work through this. But obviously the most important thing in the world is really to change other people's lives. And that's really the most important thing about the book. I think it will. I think it'll allow people to, hey, if this guy can do it, anybody can do it. And I literally mean that. If I can do something, boy, oh boy, anybody can do it. Because, you mentioned earlier about the organization. I have zero organization. I'm all talk and all BS a lot of times. So I can do all that stuff all day long. It's the other part. So if I can put this thing together and work with, I hired a coach for the book. And if I can do all this, anybody can do it. And that's going to be the name, really, the book. It's going to be about. Hey, if you're struggling, you can get through it. And I'm pretty excited about it. So thank you for allowing me to be on your show today too.
Oh my gosh.
Awesome.
Yes. Well, I learn so much from you every time I hang out with you. And I really, I wrote a lot of notes of what you were sharing today. I really appreciate everything because I'm thinking differently about just my mindset and how I can continue to kind of up level how I think and how I show up. So thank you again, my friend, for coming on and for sharing your wisdom and for your friendship. Just love and adore you. And I know everyone's going to want to connect with you and check out your podcast and stay tuned for more updates about the book. So thanks again for your time today. So good to have you.
You're the best.